You already have it. Let that truth settle within you, not as hope, not as wishful thinking, but as a quiet recognition. The moment you accepted the idea that your desire was possible, something profound occurred. Consciousness moved first. The outer world, which only reflects inner conviction, is now catching up. What you call your big win is not approaching from the future, it is assembling itself in the present, responding to an assumption you have already claimed. There is a subtle but powerful difference between wanting and knowing. Wanting keeps the mind leaning forward, always reaching, always waiting. Knowing rests. Knowing is calm. Knowing does not ask when or how. And it is from this state of inner certainty that results are born. When you shift it into that knowing, even briefly, you set forces in motion that cannot reverse themselves. The pattern has been impressed. The echo must follow. Right now, even if your senses argue otherwise, conditions are reorganizing. Conversations are happening you are not aware of. Decisions are being made without your involvement. Paths are crossing that will soon intersect with yours. None of this requires your effort or anxiety. The world is simply obeying the inner command you issued when you accepted your desire as done. The visible delay is not resistance, it is the interval required for alignment. Your role is not to monitor progress, but to remain faithful to the state you have entered. Each time doubt arises, and you gently return to the feeling of having already received, you reinforce the pattern. You are not creating again, you are sustaining. This faithfulness is not strenuous. It is a relaxed loyalty to the unseen reality you know to be true. And what is sustained in consciousness must, without exception, take form. Notice how life begins to feel different before anything looks different. That is the sign. Ease replaces urgency. Expectancy replaces effort. You may even feel less interested in searching for proof because the inner satisfaction has already arrived. This is not indifference, it is fulfillment. And fulfillment is the birthplace of manifestation. Your big win is not coming to convince you, it is coming because you no longer need convincing. The moment you stopped waiting for permission from the outer world, you gave it permission to rearrange itself. What is unfolding now is the natural consequence of that shift. Stay where you are inwardly. Do not retreat into old habits of questioning or measuring time. You already have it. And because you have it in consciousness, it must appear in experience. What is forming now will soon be undeniable, not because you forced it, but because you allowed yourself to accept it as yours long before it arrived. Your desire is already fulfilled in consciousness, even if the evidence has not yet appeared. This is not a statement of blind optimism, but a description of how creation actually unfolds. Everything that ever becomes visible first exists as an inner conviction, a settled assumption accepted by the mind. Before form, there is awareness. Before results, there is belief. The outer world does not initiate events, it responds to them. What you are experiencing now is not the beginning of your desire, but the interval between its acceptance within and its expression without. When consciousness accepts something as true, it no longer negotiates with circumstances. It does not need reassurance or repeated confirmation, it simply knows. This knowing is subtle, quiet, and deeply stable. You may not feel excited every moment, and that is a good sign. Excitement belongs to anticipation, but fulfillment belongs to calm certainty. The moment you assumed your desire as already accomplished inwardly, You shifted from wanting to being. From that shift, everything else must follow. The absence of visible evidence does not mean nothing is happening. It means the process is still internal to the world of causes. Just as a seed germinates unseen beneath the soil, your assumption is taking root beyond the reach of your senses. No one digs up a seed each day to check its progress. Interference delays growth, but because it needs undisturbed faith to complete its work. In the same way, your role is not to watch anxiously, but to remain loyal to what you already know is true. Consciousness is the only reality that initiates change. The outer world is secondary, always catching up, always rearranging itself to match the inner state you consistently occupy. When you dwell in the feeling of already having received, you are no longer sending out a request, you are issuing a command. Life responds to certainty, not desperation. It mirrors back to you what you quietly accept, not what you loudly demand. You may notice that as this inner fulfillment stabilizes, your need to do something about your desire diminishes. This is not passivity, it is alignment. Action taken from fulfillment is inspired and precise, while action taken from lack is frantic and exhausting. When consciousness is satisfied, the correct opportunities, conversations, and impulses arise naturally, without force or strain. Time is not a barrier in this process. It is simply the medium through which the unseen becomes seen. What feels like delay is actually the coordination of countless details, all moving into position to reflect your assumption accurately. Nothing is random and nothing is wasted. Every moment is contributing to the final expression. Remain faithful to the inner fact. Let your attention return again and again to the knowing that it is already done. The world has no choice but to follow where consciousness leads. What has been accepted inwardly must appear outwardly, because reality is always obedient to the state you occupy. What you're witnessing now is the rearrangement of circumstances responding to your inner acceptance. Often we look at the world and assume that change must first occur outside of us, that the conditions must shift before our desires can manifest. Yet the truth is the opposite. It is the inner state that precedes the outer reality. Every event, every meeting, every opportunity is moving in response to what has already been accepted within. When you accept something as true inwardly, you set in motion an unseen orchestration. The world begins to adjust quietly, subtly, to bring the inner reality into form. This rearrangement is rarely dramatic at first. You may notice small coincidences, minor adjustments, or unexpected ease in areas that previously felt resistant. These are not random. They are the proof that consciousness has already acted. Every circumstance is already acted. Every circumstance is yielding to your inner assumption, bending and shifting to align with the state of being you have chosen to inhabit. While the mind often looks for immediate, tangible results, the unseen is infinitely patient. It knows the exact pattern, timing, and sequence necessary to produce the effect in the external world. Acceptance is the key that unlocks this process. To accept is to no longer struggle with reality, to no longer question how or when your desire will appear. It is a state of quiet conviction that does not demand proof. This does not mean you ignore life or remain inactive. It means you act from a position of alignment rather than desperation. Actions inspired by inner acceptance carry the weight of inevitability. They are steps taken not to force reality, but to flow in harmony with the current that has already begun. As this inner acceptance strengthens, you will notice that circumstances start to conform in ways that feel almost miraculous. Problems that seemed immovable begin to resolve naturally. People respond in unexpected kindness. Opportunities appear precisely when they are needed, and obstacles seem to vanish without effort. These are not coincidences. They are the direct manifestation of the inner reality being expressed outwardly. The universe, in its own way, is simply reflecting back to you the state of consciousness you hold. Patience is required, yet it is not a passive waiting. It is an active maintaining of faith in the unseen. Every moment you remain firm in your acceptance, you reinforce the pattern that circumstances are following. Even delays, setbacks, or appearances of stagnation are part of the rearrangement. They serve to perfect the alignment, ensuring that when your desire manifests, it does so fully and completely. Understand that the outer world is not hostile or indifferent. It is obedient to your inner state. What you are witnessing now, no matter how subtle or hidden it may seem, is the proof that reality has already responded. The evidence is in motion, invisible to the senses at first, yet inevitable. When consciousness has accepted, circumstances cannot resist. They must rearrange, and in time the invisible becomes visible. Your task is simple. Remain faithful to your inner acceptance. Do not be distracted by appearances. Trust that every shifting circumstance, every subtle alignment, is part of the exact unfolding needed to bring your desire into full expression. What you see now is the world moving in response to what you already know is true, quietly forming the reality you have assumed. The moment you stopped forcing and started assuming, movement began. So often we believe that effort, struggle, and constant action are the keys to bringing our desires into reality. We push, we strive, and we try to convince the world to align with our will, thinking that the harder we act, the faster results will appear. Yet this approach often leads only to exhaustion, frustration, and delay. True change begins not with force, but with assumption. The instant you accept the end result as already yours, the invisible gears of life begin to turn in your favor. Movement, which may have seemed impossible under strain, now flows naturally. Assuming is an act of consciousness. It is not pretending or wishful thinking. It is the quiet, unwavering recognition that what you desire already exists in the unseen. When you assume, you are no longer separated from the outcome. You no longer chase it from a place of lack. Instead, you occupy the state of having it. This shift transforms your entire being. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to align effortlessly with the reality you have assumed. The universe, which always responds to the state of consciousness, begins to mirror back the assumption. Movement, which once seemed delayed or blocked, now unfolds as a natural consequence of your inner alignment. Forcing, by contrast, keeps the mind in resistance. It implies that the desired reality is absent and must be wrestled into being. This state creates tension, doubt, and confusion, which obscure the clarity required for manifestation. Life cannot flow when the mind is in conflict. But the moment you stop forcing, when you let go of trying to push reality into submission, you create a space for alignment to occur. This is the point at which the invisible begins to work on your behalf, rearranging circumstances, inspiring actions, and bringing together the elements necessary for your desire to appear. Movement begins quietly at first. You may notice subtle shifts in thought, unexpected opportunities, or people appearing at the right time. These are the signs that the inner assumption has taken root and is influencing the external world. What seemed stagnant or delayed starts to show progress, often in ways that feel effortless or even miraculous. This is because the assumption has bypassed resistance, working directly through the channels of consciousness that shape reality. The beauty of assuming is that it requires no struggle, no evidence, and no justification. All that is needed is faith in the inner knowing that your desire is already fulfilled. Each moment spent in this state reinforces the pattern of movement. Each time you return to the feeling of having already received, you strengthen the invisible current that carries your desire into form. Force is replaced by flow, effort by ease, and striving by inspired action. The moment you stopped forcing and started assuming is the moment the universe began to move in harmony with you. It is the pivot from resistance to alignment, from waiting to receiving, from seeking to knowing. What you assumed inwardly must, without exception, manifest outwardly. Movement has begun, not because of struggle, but because of the quiet, powerful act of assumption. Faithfulness to the inner knowing sustains the outcome until it becomes visible. Often we assume that once we have imagined or accepted something as ours, the work is done and the manifestation will appear immediately. Yet the journey from the invisible to the visible requires loyalty, a steadfast devotion to the reality already impressed upon consciousness. It is not enough to glimpse the desire and feel a fleeting sense of certainty. True manifestation demands that you remain unwavering in your inner knowing, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. This faithfulness is what bridges the gap between assumption and evidence, between what is unseen and what is experienced. Inner knowing is the seed and faithfulness is the soil that nourishes it. When you first accept the end as yours, the desire exists fully in the unseen, but it has not yet been reflected outwardly. The world responds to consciousness, and until the outer world aligns with the inner state, the knowing must be held without compromise. Each doubt, hesitation, or momentary lapse in faith slows the process, for reality mirrors the state of your awareness. Conversely, every act of loyalty to your inner certainty strengthens the pattern and accelerates its expression. Faithfulness is not rigid or forced. It is a relaxed, confident attention to the truth of what has been assumed. It is the calm awareness that your desire is complete in the unseen, regardless of the appearances in the visible world. You do not need to argue with reality, negotiate with circumstances, or check daily for proof. The role of faithfulness is not to manufacture the outcome externally, but to maintain the inner state until the world can no longer resist reflecting it. It is the quiet insistence that what is already yours inwardly must eventually appear outwardly. Life may challenge your faithfulness with delays, setbacks, or contradictions, but these are not signs of failure. They are part of the natural process of alignment. Every circumstance, every interaction, every subtle shift is orchestrating itself to accommodate the inner reality. Faithfulness ensures that you do not drift into doubt or impatience during this period. It is the anchor that holds the state steady while the unseen patterns work to manifest the desired outcome perfectly. The essence of this faithfulness is consistency. Each moment that you return to the inner knowing reinforces the invisible current carrying your desire into form. You are not constantly reimagining or recreating it. You are simply sustaining it, holding it as an undeniable fact within yourself. This unwavering attention is what compels reality to respond. It is the magnetic force that draws circumstances, people, and opportunities into alignment with the assumption you hold. The outer world must obey the inner state. The manifestation cannot fail because it has already been fulfilled in consciousness. Faithfulness does not rush the process, nor does it rely on external validation. It simply maintains the truth of the inner knowing until all conditions are perfectly arranged to reflect it. By remaining loyal to the unseen, you ensure that when the moment of manifestation arrives, it is complete, undeniable, and fully aligned with the reality you have already assumed. Delay is not absence, it is alignment unfolding in perfect order. Too often, we mistake the lack of immediate evidence for failure, for resistance, or for the impossibility of our desires. We look at circumstances that have not yet changed and assume that nothing is happening. Yet the truth is that what is delayed is not denied. The universe does not work in haste or disorder. It is orchestrating every detail to reflect the inner reality you have assumed. Every moment that passes without visible results is a moment in which alignment is quietly arranging itself, unseen, but perfectly in motion. The outer world is a mirror of consciousness, and it requires time to reflect the exact pattern impressed within. Each circumstance, each event, each interaction must be coordinated to match the inner assumption. This coordination takes place naturally, according to perfect order, and it often appears as delay to the untrained eye. Yet delay is a sign that the unseen forces are at work, moving elements into position so that when your desire manifests, it does so fully, harmoniously, and without contradiction. Impatience cannot accelerate this process, and doubt only obstructs it. Understanding that delay is alignment allows you to remain centered, calm, and confident, while the invisible completes its work. While waiting, it is essential to maintain the state of the fulfilled desire inwardly. Delay is not the absence of manifestation, it is the space in which your inner knowing is being strengthened and the outer world is being prepared. Every unseen adjustment, every subtle movement in circumstances is part of the precise unfolding required. Often, what seems like a lack of progress is simply a reordering of conditions that will soon appear as rapid and undeniable results. The invisible must precede the visible, and this period of alignment is necessary for the manifestation to arrive in its full, perfect form. It is important to recognize that the universe is always responding to the state you occupy. Your inner acceptance, faithfulness, and calm assurance are what direct this alignment. Delay tests the strength of your belief, but it also reinforces the importance of remaining loyal to the unseen reality. By trusting that the process is occurring according to perfect order, you prevent impatience, frustration, and doubt from disrupting the flow. The outer world cannot manifest until the inner pattern is fully stabilized. Delay is simply the natural timing required for this stabilization to complete. Every delay has its reason, even if it is invisible. It is part of the orchestration that ensures your desire will appear exactly as intended, at the perfect moment, and in the optimal conditions. The universe does not act randomly or incompletely. What is held firmly in consciousness must manifest, and the delay is the evidence of unseen forces meticulously arranging themselves to fulfill the assumption you hold. Understanding this truth allows you to rest in confidence. knowing that delay is not absence and waiting is not failure. It is a period of alignment, a quiet preparation in which everything is being set into motion so that the manifestation will arrive in perfect order. The world is responding invisibly, and when the time is right, what you have assumed will appear unmistakably, fully, and harmoniously, reflecting the reality you have already embraced within. Your persistence in the unseen is giving form to what is already yours. Many people look at life and judge reality by what is visible. They see the absence of results and assume that nothing is happening. Yet the truth is that everything begins in the unseen. What you desire already exists in consciousness, and your task is not to create it from scratch, but to remain persistent in the assumption that it is already yours. Every moment you hold the feeling, every moment you dwell in the knowing, is shaping the invisible into form, compelling reality to mirror the state you occupy. Persistence in the unseen requires patience and faith. It is not an anxious clinging to desire, nor is it constant questioning or second guessing. It is the calm, unwavering attention to the inner reality you have accepted as true. The more you dwell in that state, the stronger the signal you send to life. Consciousness does not discriminate between what you imagine fleetingly and what you assume consistently. Does it seem? By persisting, you impress the pattern so deeply that the world has no choice but to respond. Your unseen devotion is the architect of manifestation, silently assembling all the elements necessary for your desire to appear. The unseen may feel intangible, and because it cannot be measured by the senses, many give up too soon. They look for immediate proof and abandon the inner knowing when evidence does not appear on the outside. Yet every doubt or wavering thought interrupts the process, slowing the natural unfolding. Persistence, on the other hand, strengthens it. It is the force that maintains the alignment between your inner state and the eventual outer reality. Each moment of unwavering faith, each return to the assumption of fulfillment, solidifies the form that is quietly taking shape. Consider that the physical world is simply the effect, and consciousness is the cause. Your persistence in the unseen is like holding the blueprint in place until construction is complete. You do not need to rush, control, or manipulate circumstances externally. You simply maintain the state of having, of already possessing what you desire. Life, in its perfect intelligence, follows the lead of consciousness. What you sustain inwardly cannot remain invisible indefinitely. It must take shape in the external world. This persistence is not effortful. It is not about forcing or trying harder. It is a relaxed, yet firm loyalty to what is true in your inner experience. Each day you return to this inner knowing, you reinforce the invisible current, giving it momentum. The world rearranges itself accordingly, orchestrating people, events, and opportunities to align perfectly with the reality you have assumed. Delays are not denials, they are part of the careful formation process that ensures the manifestation is complete, precise, and lasting. Persistence in the unseen is the bridge between imagination and reality. What you already hold within must eventually appear outside. By remaining faithful, you ensure that the form that emerges is not partial or distorted, but fully reflects the inner certainty you have cultivated. Your unseen persistence is the silent, powerful agent that turns thought into reality, feeling into experience, and assumption into undeniable fact. The more consistent you are, the faster and more beautifully the invisible takes shape. bringing into manifestation exactly what is already yours. In conclusion, everything we have discussed points to one undeniable truth. Your big win is not somewhere in the distant future, it is already forming in the unseen. The desires you hold, the goals you cherish, and the victories you long for are already present in consciousness. Every moment you remain faithful to your inner knowing. Every time you stop forcing and simply assume. Every delay you encounter, and every act of persistence in the unseen is bringing that reality into perfect alignment. Life responds to the state you occupy, and when you trust, allow, and remain loyal to the feeling of fulfillment, the outer world has no choice but to mirror what is already true within you. Your role is not to chase, to struggle, or to doubt, but to stay centered in the knowledge that your desires are already yours. What is forming in the unseen is moving toward you in perfect order, and the moment of manifestation is inevitable. The world is responding quietly and perfectly to the reality you have assumed. Stay faithful, remain persistent, and trust that what you already hold inwardly will soon appear outwardly in full, undeniable form. Thank you.
Tesla died clutching a theory that could have changed everything. In his final papers, he wrote about a discovery so profound that the government classified it for decades. He claimed he'd found the fundamental frequency of reality itself, the hidden signal that controls everything from human consciousness to the movement of galaxies. What if he was right? What if there's an invisible layer of reality operating beneath everything you can see, touch, or measure? And what if learning to tune into it could completely transform your life? Right now, something extraordinary is happening. Your heart is beating at 60 to 100 beats per minute. Your brain is firing electrical signals at specific frequencies. Even your DNA is vibrating at measurable rates. You are literally a walking symphony of frequencies, broadcasting a unique signature into the universe every single second. But here's what nobody tells you. You've never learned to hear your own song. I'm about to tell you something that will change how you see everything. Every emotion you've ever felt, every thought you've ever had, every person you've ever been attracted to or repelled by, none of it was random. It was all frequency matching. When you walk into a room and instantly feel uncomfortable, you're not imagining it. You're picking up discordant frequencies. When you meet someone for the first time and feel like you've known them forever, you're experiencing harmonic resonance. When you think about calling someone and they call you first, you're both tuned to the same energetic channel. Most people call this coincidence. Scientists are starting to call it quantum entanglement. I call it the most powerful force in your life that you've never been taught to use. Here's the mind-bending part. Reality isn't made of things, it's made of patterns, invisible rhythms, frequencies so subtle that 99% of people live their entire lives without ever noticing them. But the 1% who do, they seem to live in a completely different world. They attract opportunities effortlessly. Synchronicities happen to them constantly. They make decisions with uncanny accuracy. People are drawn to them. Money flows to them. Love finds them. It's like they have access to some secret information that everyone else is missing. They do, and you're about to discover what it is. Let me blow your mind with what quantum physicists have discovered. At the smallest levels of reality, smaller than atoms, smaller than electrons, nothing exists as solid matter. Instead, everything exists as waves of probability, vibrating possibilities waiting to become real. But here's the kicker. These particles don't behave predictably until they're observed. The observer literally changes the outcome. What we focus on, we influence. Our consciousness isn't just watching reality, it's actively creating it. This isn't metaphysical speculation. This is Nobel Prize-winning science. The observer effect is one of the most replicated phenomena in physics. Your attention acts like a cosmic remote control, selecting which channel of reality you experience. Think about that for a moment. If reality is made of frequencies, and consciousness can influence which frequencies become real, then you're not a victim of circumstances. You're a co-creator of your experience. But most people are creating unconsciously. They're broadcasting static instead of signal. They're tuned into frequencies of lack, fear, and limitation without even realizing it. And then they wonder why their lives feel stuck on repeat. Your thoughts aren't just private experiences happening inside your head. They're frequencies with measurable electromagnetic signatures. Scientists can now detect and even decode thoughts using brain scanning technology. Every thought you think is literally broadcasting a signal into the quantum field. Your emotions aren't just chemical reactions in your body. They're complex frequency patterns that extend far beyond your physical boundaries. This is why you can feel someone's mood from across a room. This is why crowds have energy. This is why some places feel sacred while others feel heavy. You are not separate from the world around you. You are embedded in a vast web of interconnected frequencies, constantly transmitting and receiving information at levels far below conscious awareness. Right now, you have a frequency signature as unique as your fingerprint. It's composed of your dominant thoughts, your emotional patterns, your beliefs about yourself and the world, your physical health, even your spiritual state. This signature is constantly broadcasting into the field around you. And here's the profound part. The universe responds to your frequency like a massive echo chamber. Whatever you broadcast, you attract back in the form of experiences, people, opportunities, and circumstances that match your signal. This is why some people seem to effortlessly attract success, while others struggle despite working twice as hard. It's not about effort. It's not about worthiness. It's not even about luck. It's about signal clarity. Let me give you some examples of how this works in real life. The frequency of fear. When you operate from fear, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, you broadcast a very specific signal. That signal attracts experiences that confirm your fears. You notice threats everywhere. Opportunities seem to disappear. People respond to your insecurity. You create the very reality you're afraid of, not because the universe is cruel, but because you're unconsciously requesting it through your frequency. The frequency of love. When you operate from genuine love, for yourself, for others, for life itself, you broadcast a completely different signal. People are drawn to you. Opportunities flow toward you. Problems resolve more easily. It's not magic. It's magnetism. Love is one of the highest frequencies in existence, and it naturally attracts more of itself. The frequency of gratitude. Gratitude is perhaps the most powerful frequency you can broadcast. When you're genuinely grateful, you're acknowledging abundance. You're saying yes to life. And life responds by giving you more to be grateful for. This isn't positive thinking. This is energetic alignment. But here's where most people get stuck. They try to change their external circumstances without first changing their internal frequency. They want a different life while broadcasting the same old signal. It's like trying to tune into a rock station while your radio is set to classical music. The station you want is broadcasting, but you're not aligned to receive it. So why don't we naturally know this? Why aren't we taught to work with frequency from childhood? Because we live in a world obsessed with the visible, the measurable, the real. We're conditioned to trust only what we can see, prove, or hold in our hands. We value solidity, structure, things that can be named and labeled. But frequency doesn't belong to that world. It can't be boxed or frozen. It lives in the invisible realm. This creates what I call the myth of solidity, the belief that reality is fixed, hard, and external to us. But the truth is exactly the opposite. Reality is soft, responsive, and deeply influenced by our internal state. From the moment we're born, we inherit frequencies from our environment. Our families have emotional patterns that we absorb. Our culture has belief systems that we download. Our education system teaches us to focus on problems rather than possibilities. Our media bombards us with frequencies of fear, scarcity, and separation. By the time we're adults, most of us are walking around with incredibly noisy signals. We're broadcasting a chaotic mix of inherited beliefs, unprocessed emotions, and unconscious patterns. No wonder life feels so random and difficult. Here's what's really happening. You have layers of frequency interference, preventing you from accessing your natural signal. It's like trying to tune into a clear radio station, while someone else is playing 5 different songs at the same time in the background. Emotional static, like unprocessed trauma, suppressed emotions, and chronic stress create interference in your signal. These lower frequencies literally jam your ability to access higher states of consciousness and attract positive experiences. Mental noise, like repetitive negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, and mental habits, create loops in your frequency. You end up broadcasting the same signal over and over, which is why your life can feel stuck in patterns. Environmental interference, like the people you spend time with, the media you consume, the spaces you inhabit, all of these are constantly influencing your frequency. If you're surrounded by negativity, it becomes much harder to maintain a clear positive signal. Cultural programming. Society teaches us to focus on lack, to compete rather than collaborate, to fear rather than trust. These programmed responses create automatic frequency patterns that run in the background of our consciousness. The good news, once you understand how this works, you can start to clear the static and tune into your authentic frequency. Learning to work with frequency consciously is like developing a new sense. At first, it seems impossible. Then gradually, you start to notice subtle patterns you never saw before. Eventually, it becomes as natural as seeing or hearing. Here's how the awakening process typically unfolds. Stage 1. Recognition. You start to notice that your internal state directly affects your external experiences. When you're feeling good, good things happen. When you're stuck in negativity, life reflects that back to you. This isn't just positive thinking. You're beginning to see the actual correlation between your frequency and your reality. Stage 2. Experimentation. You begin deliberately shifting your internal state and watching how your external world responds. You practice gratitude and notice more things to be grateful for appearing in your life. You focus on love and find that relationships improve. You align with abundance and opportunities start flowing. Stage 3. Integration. Working with frequency becomes second nature. You develop an intuitive sense of what frequencies you're broadcasting and receiving. You can feel the energy of spaces, people, and situations before your mind analyzes them. You make decisions based on energetic alignment rather than just logical analysis. Stage 4. Mastery. You realize that you are both the instrument and the musician. You can consciously choose which frequency to broadcast in any situation. Your life becomes a deliberate creation rather than a random series of events. You understand that changing your frequency is the most powerful way to change your life. But let me be clear. This isn't about spiritual bypassing or pretending everything is perfect. Working with frequency requires radical honesty about what you're actually broadcasting. Sometimes that means facing uncomfortable truths about your patterns, beliefs, and behaviors. So how do you actually tune your frequency? How do you clear the static and access your authentic signal? Here are the most powerful tools I've discovered. Number 1. Conscious breathing. Your breath is directly connected to your frequency. Shallow, anxious breathing broadcasts stress and fear. Deep, rhythmic breathing creates coherence in your nervous system and elevates your frequency. Spend just 5 minutes breathing consciously, and you can completely shift your energetic state. Number 2. Meditation and stillness. The more noise in your system, the harder it is to perceive subtle frequencies. Meditation isn't about emptying your mind. It's about clearing the static so you can hear your natural signal. Even 10 minutes of stillness daily can dramatically improve your frequency awareness. Number 3. Emotional clearing. Suppressed emotions create interference patterns in your frequency. Learning to feel and release emotions as they arise keeps your signal clear. This doesn't mean being emotional all the time. It means being emotionally honest and fluid. Number 4. Frequency hygiene. Just like physical hygiene, you need frequency hygiene. This means being conscious about what you expose yourself to. The music you listen to, The news you consume, the conversations you engage in, the people you spend time with, all of these are either elevating or lowering your frequency. Number 5. Alignment practices. Regularly check in with yourself. Does this feel aligned? Trust your body's wisdom. Your physical sensations are often more accurate than your thoughts when it comes to frequency recognition. If something makes you feel contracted, heavy, or drained, it's probably not aligned with your highest frequency. Number 6. Nature connection. Nature operates at perfectly coherent frequencies. Spending time in natural environments automatically helps attune your system to more harmonious patterns. This is why being in nature feels so restorative. You're literally syncing up with coherent frequency patterns. Number 7. Creative expression. Creativity is one of the most direct ways to express your authentic frequency. Whether it's art, music, writing, or any form of creative expression, you're broadcasting your unique signal when you create. This is why creative pursuits feel so fulfilling. You're aligned with your natural frequency. Number 8. Service and contribution. When you focus on how you can serve or contribute to others, you naturally shift into higher frequencies. This isn't about self-sacrifice. It's about recognizing that we're all part of a larger frequency pattern, and when we support the whole, we elevate ourselves. Number 9. Gratitude practice. Gratitude might be the single most powerful frequency shifting tool available. When you're genuinely grateful, you're broadcasting abundance, appreciation, and love. The universe responds by giving you more experiences that match those frequencies. Number 10. Energy management. Learn to recognize what gives you energy and what drains it. High-frequency activities, people, and environments will energize you. Low-frequency experiences will deplete you. Manage your energy like the precious resource it is. Number 11. Intention setting. Your intentions act like tuning forks, helping you align with specific frequencies. But here's the key. Your intentions must be backed by genuine emotion and belief. Empty affirmations don't work because they lack energetic substance. When people hear the term higher frequency, they often imagine something superior or exclusive, something reserved for monks or mystics. But this is a fundamental misunderstanding. Higher frequency doesn't mean better in a moral sense. It means more coherent, more aligned, more in sync with the underlying patterns of life. It's like the difference between a beautiful symphony and random noise. Both are made of sound waves, but one has harmony and the other has chaos. Living at a higher frequency doesn't make you special. It makes you effective. It means you move through life with less resistance because you're no longer pushing against the current. You're moving with it. Here's what actually happens when you consistently operate at higher frequencies. Synchronicity becomes normal. When you're aligned with your authentic frequency, the universe seems to conspire to support you. You think of someone, and they call. You need information, and it appears. You follow hunches that lead exactly where you need to go. This isn't luck, it's alignment. You're tuned into the same frequency as the opportunities and connections that serve your highest good. Intuition sharpens dramatically. Your intuition isn't a mystical power. It's your natural ability to perceive frequency patterns that your conscious mind hasn't yet analyzed. When you're operating at higher frequencies, your intuitive abilities become incredibly accurate. You can sense truth, not just in facts, but in feeling. You know things before you know how you know them. Relationships transform. People respond to frequency before they respond to words. When you're broadcasting authenticity, love, and coherence, others naturally feel safe and drawn to you. Toxic relationships fall away because there's no frequency match. Healthy relationships deepen because you're able to connect at more profound levels. Creativity explodes. Creativity flows most freely when you're aligned with higher frequencies. Ideas come effortlessly. Solutions appear. You tap into a source of inspiration that feels infinite. This is because creativity is essentially frequency expression. You're translating your unique vibrational signature into form. Health improves. Your physical body is constantly responding to your frequency. Stress, fear, and negativity create disharmony in your system, leading to illness and disease. Love, joy, and peace create coherence. supporting natural healing and vitality. This isn't alternative medicine. This is how your nervous system, immune system, and endocrine system actually function. Abundance flows. Money is energy, and it flows toward coherent frequency patterns. When you're aligned with higher frequencies, you naturally attract resources, opportunities, and support. This isn't about greed or materialism. It's about being an open channel for the flow of universal abundance. Purpose becomes clear. At higher frequencies, you can sense your unique role in the larger pattern of existence. Your purpose isn't something you have to figure out intellectually. It's something you feel into. You understand how your gifts and talents fit into the greater whole. Peace becomes your default state. Instead of peace being something you have to achieve, it becomes your natural state. Challenges still arise, but they don't disturb your fundamental equilibrium. You respond to life from a place of centeredness rather than reactivity. You become a healing presence. When you consistently operate at higher frequencies, you naturally become a source of coherence for others. People feel better around you. Conflicts resolve more easily when you're present. You become a tuning fork, helping others remember their own natural harmony. Now let's go deeper into the mysteries of frequency that most people never discover. Quantum physicists talk about something called the zero-point field, a realm of infinite potential that exists beneath physical reality. This field contains every possible version of your life, every potential outcome, every possible path. Your frequency determines which possibilities you can access and which ones remain invisible to you. When you raise your frequency, you literally gain access to higher possibilities that were always there but previously beyond your reach. It's like upgrading your consciousness to receive more channels of reality. But you're not just broadcasting your individual frequency. You're also participating in collective frequency fields. Your family has a collective frequency. Your community has one. Your nation, your species, even your planet operates at specific frequency ranges. These collective fields are incredibly powerful. They can either support your individual frequency or create interference. This is why it's so important to consciously choose the collective fields you participate in. The company you keep, literally and figuratively, determines which frequency ranges you have access to. And here's something that will stretch your understanding. Your frequency doesn't just attract experiences. It actually determines which timeline you experience. Every moment, infinite possible futures branch out from the present. Your frequency acts like a navigation system, guiding you toward the timeline that matches your energetic signature. When you make a significant frequency shift, you can literally shift timelines. Suddenly, possibilities that seemed impossible become inevitable. People from your past fall away while new people appear. Opportunities that were never available suddenly become obvious. You haven't just changed your perspective. You've changed your trajectory through the multiverse of possibilities. Also, when you're aligned with higher frequencies, your perception of time changes. Flow states, where time seems to stop or accelerate, are actually frequency alignment experiences. You're syncing up with the natural rhythm of creation itself. This is why some people accomplish incredible things, while others struggle to make progress. It's not about working harder. It's about aligning with the frequency of flow, where time becomes your ally, rather than your limitation. We're living through an unprecedented moment in human history. More people are becoming conscious of frequency and vibration than ever before. Ancient wisdom that was once hidden is becoming mainstream knowledge. Science is validating what mystics have known for millennia. This isn't happening by accident. We're experiencing a collective frequency shift that's awakening humanity to its true nature and potential. Old systems based on fear, control, and separation are breaking down because they're no longer sustainable at the frequencies we're evolving toward. This can look chaotic and frightening, but it's actually a necessary part of the awakening process. As more individuals raise their frequency, the collective frequency of humanity rises. This creates pressure on all the systems and structures that aren't aligned with higher consciousness. They must either evolve or dissolve. Many spiritual traditions speak of a new earth or a golden age. These aren't just metaphorical concepts. They're describing a collective frequency shift that transforms how we experience reality. When enough people operate at higher frequencies, we create new collective possibilities. Imagine a world where most people make decisions from love rather than fear, where cooperation replaces competition, where abundance is shared rather than hoarded, where creativity and consciousness are valued more than consumption and control. This isn't utopian fantasy. It's the natural result of collective frequency elevation. Every person who chooses to raise their frequency contributes to this collective shift. You're not just improving your own life. You're helping to birth a new paradigm of human consciousness. This is why your personal frequency work matters so much. You're not being selfish by focusing on your own spiritual development. You're being of service to the entire human family. Every time you choose love over fear, coherence over chaos, alignment over resistance, you're adding your frequency to the growing chorus of awakened consciousness. We've covered a lot of ground, but everything I've shared points to one simple truth. You are far more powerful than you've been taught to believe. You are not a victim of circumstances, genetics, or fate. You are a conscious creator, equipped with the ability to broadcast any frequency you choose. But with this power comes responsibility. Once you understand how frequency works, you can no longer pretend that your thoughts, emotions, and actions don't matter. You can no longer blame external circumstances for your internal state. You must take full ownership of the signal you're broadcasting. This can be overwhelming at first. It means that if your life isn't working, you have to look at what frequency you're holding. It means that changing your external world requires changing your internal world first. It means taking radical responsibility for your experience. But it also means incredible freedom. If you're creating your experience through frequency, then you can change your experience by changing your frequency. You're not stuck with the patterns you inherited. You're not limited by your past. You can tune into any frequency you choose, right now, in this moment. Start each day by consciously choosing your frequency. Before you check your phone, before you get caught up in the demands of the day, take a few moments to tune in. Ask yourself, what frequency do I want to broadcast today? How do I want to feel? What kind of energy do I want to contribute to the world? Then throughout the day, keep checking in. When you notice your frequency dropping, when you feel stressed, anxious, angry, or depleted, don't judge it. Simply recognize it and make a conscious choice to shift. Remember that your frequency doesn't just affect you. It affects everyone and everything around you. When you operate at higher frequencies, you give others permission to do the same. You become a catalyst for positive change in your family, your community, your world. Your coherent frequency helps heal the collective chaos. Your authentic expression helps others remember their own truth. Your commitment to growth helps accelerate the awakening of human consciousness.
Today I want to remind you of a profound truth. God is making the impossible possible, and your breakthrough is closer than you think. Too often, we look around at the circumstances of our lives and declare, this is impossible. We see deaths, failed relationships, lost opportunities, or health challenges, and our hearts grow heavy with doubt. But let me tell you something. What you see outwardly is never the measure of what is truly happening. There is an invisible world, a world shaped by belief, by imagination, by the unwavering faith within you, that is already arranging your victory. Every great miracle begins in the mind, in the feeling of the fulfilled state. When you assume, even for a moment, that your desire is already complete, you are participating in the creative process of the universe. God does not act against your imagination. He works through it. What seems impossible to the eyes is always possible to the heart that believes. Do not give up now. Whatever obstacle stands before you is not a blockade. It is a signal that your inner alignment needs only a slight adjustment. Keep imagining, Keep feeling, keep living from the end of your desire. Do not let circumstances dictate your faith. Your inner conviction has the power to move mountains. The impossible is only impossible until belief steps in. When you persist in your assumption, when you trust in the unseen, the divine energy orchestrates everything in your favor. Doors that seemed closed will swing open. Opportunities that seemed hidden will reveal themselves. Situations that appeared hopeless will be transformed. This is the moment to hold fast to your vision, let go of doubt, release fear, and step boldly into the state of fulfillment. Feel it, live it, breathe it. Because God is already working behind the scenes, turning impossibilities into certainties. Your breakthrough is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of faith, imagination, and persistence. Do not allow the world of appearances to discourage you. The impossible is already being made possible for you. Trust it, live it, receive it, and most importantly, do not give up now. Your miracle is closer than you think. Everything that exists in your outer world first existed in the realm of imagination. Every invention, every great achievement, every act of kindness or triumph over adversity began as a vision in someone's mind. Your imagination is not a trivial escape from reality. It is the workshop of creation. The feelings you cultivate and the images you hold as real within yourself are the seeds from which your external reality grows. When you see clearly in your mind's eye what you desire and feel as though it is already yours, you set in motion forces beyond your conscious understanding. These forces begin to shape circumstances, align people, and move events in a way that brings the unseen into manifestation. Most people live passively, believing that what they see with their eyes is the totality of life. They let conditions, setbacks, and other people dictate what is possible for them. But the truth is that your outer reality is never the primary determinant of what you experience. The invisible world, the world of your thoughts, emotions, and assumptions, is always in advance of the visible. When you hold a clear and unwavering vision within, it begins to impress upon the subconscious mind, which is the silent engine behind all creation. Your subconscious does not question whether something is real or possible. It accepts what you impress upon it as fact and begins to arrange circumstances to correspond with it. Feeling is the bridge between imagination and reality. It is not enough to simply picture your desire. You must feel it as though it is already yours. When you embody the emotion of fulfillment, gratitude, and joy, you signal to the universe that this state is already complete within you. Your inner world then radiates outward, subtly influencing the events and people around you. Opportunities arise, solutions appear, and seemingly impossible situations begin to resolve themselves. This is the way the impossible becomes possible. The power of inner vision requires persistence and faith. You will face doubts, distractions, and moments when your outer world seems to contradict your inner reality. This is natural, and it is precisely in those moments that your commitment to your inner vision matters most. By continuing to imagine and feel your desired state, despite appearances, you strengthen your creative influence. The external world cannot remain contrary to the inner reality that is held with conviction. Your imagination is not just a mental exercise, it is the divine instrument through which life is sculpted. In every situation, you have the ability to shape your destiny through the clarity of your inner vision. What you nurture in your mind and what you feel with a heart of certainty will eventually appear in your life. There is no force more powerful than the deliberate and persistent cultivation of an inner reality that corresponds to your deepest desires. When you recognize this truth and act in alignment with it, you awaken the creative force within and allow the impossible to become your natural experience. Faith is the quiet, unwavering certainty in what cannot yet be observed with the physical senses. It is the inner knowing that the unseen is already at work, arranging itself to become visible in your life. Too often we wait for evidence, waiting to see proof before believing, only to find that the waiting never ends. The truth is that all manifestations, every success, every breakthrough, every miracle, begin in the unseen realm. The visible world is always a reflection of what has already occurred in the invisible. To live by faith is to align yourself with this higher law, to place trust in the creative power that operates beyond the limitations of what you can touch, hear, or measure. The unseen precedes the seen in every aspect of life. A seed lies in the darkness of the soil before it grows into a tree. The architect holds the blueprint of a building long before the first brick is laid. Every idea, every inspiration, every achievement first exists as an unseen reality in the mind and spirit before it manifests physically. When you cultivate faith, you are acknowledging that the outcome you desire is already present in the invisible realm, and that your task is to align yourself with it. Faith is not passive. It is an active engagement with the forces that govern creation, a conscious choice to live as though what is unseen is already fulfilled. Trust in what is not yet visible activates the flow of life in ways that evidence never can. When you believe in the unseen, your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to harmonize with the reality you desire. You no longer resist the process with doubt or fear. Instead, you move through life with confidence, knowing that the invisible is already orchestrating the steps that will bring your vision into form. This trust does not mean ignoring challenges or pretending they do not exist. Rather, it means holding your inner state steady, refusing to be swayed by appearances, and maintaining the conviction that what you desire is inevitable. Faith transforms waiting into a state of living fulfillment. It allows you to dwell in the joy of your desired outcome even before it appears externally. By embracing the unseen, you become a co-creator with divine intelligence, shaping circumstances, opportunities, and relationships to align with your inner certainty. The universe responds to the steadfastness of your belief. It bends and moves to bring the invisible into the visible. Every time you choose faith over doubt, you strengthen this connection, creating momentum that carries your desire from thought to reality. Faith beyond evidence is the key to unlocking the impossible. It is the bridge between what is present and what is coming, the invisible thread that binds imagination and manifestation. Trusting in the unseen does not require proof. It requires conviction. It asks you to live as though your desire is already fulfilled and to act in harmony with this inner truth. When you do, you activate the divine flow in your life, and what once seemed impossible begins to appear effortlessly, beautifully, and inevitably. Persistence in assumption is the secret to transforming desire into reality. Life often presents circumstances that seem contradictory to our goals, situations that appear to deny the fulfillment we seek. Yet it is precisely in these moments that the power of assumption reveals itself. To assume a state is to live and feel as though the desired outcome has already been realized. When you hold steadfast to this inner conviction, even in the face of opposing evidence, you align yourself with the unseen forces that bring that assumption into the external world. What you persistently assume as true becomes the lens through which reality is filtered, shaping everything you experience. Many people falter because they allow their outer world to dictate their inner state. When challenges arise, doubt creeps in, and they abandon their vision. Persistence in assumption requires courage and discipline. It asks you to anchor yourself in the state you wish to inhabit, regardless of appearances. This does not mean ignoring obstacles or pretending that difficulties do not exist. Rather, it is a deliberate choice to refuse to let those appearances determine the truth of your inner reality. By steadfastly assuming the state of fulfillment, peace, success, or love, you send a clear signal to the creative intelligence of the universe that this is the reality you claim. The process of assumption is intimately tied to feeling. It is not enough to merely think about your desire. You must feel it as already accomplished. Every thought, emotion, and sensation that resonates with this state strengthens your assumption, weaving it into the very fabric of your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between what is imagined and what is experienced. It accepts your inner reality as absolute. Persistent assumption ensures that this inner reality remains unwavering, even when circumstances appear contradictory. The outer world must eventually yield to the inner state that is held with unshakable conviction. Persistence also cultivates patience and faith. It allows you to endure the gap between the invisible fulfillment and the visible evidence. Many give up too soon, mistaking the delay for denial. Yet the delay is often the universe orchestrating the perfect conditions for your manifestation. By persistently assuming your desired state, you maintain alignment with the creative flow, ensuring that every event, encounter, and opportunity converges to bring your inner assumption into physical form. Persistence in assumption is the art of living from the end. It transforms desire into reality not through force or struggle, but through the quiet, unwavering belief that what you seek already exists within. When you persist, you no longer react to the outer world. Instead, you draw the outer world into harmony with your inner truth. What you assume as real internally must, by the natural law of creation, manifest externally. Steadfastness in assumption is the bridge between imagination and experience, the key that unlocks the impossible, and the means by which every dream is made tangible. Divine timing is the quiet, perfect orchestration of life that often goes unnoticed until we look back and see how everything fell into place. Nothing in your life is delayed, even when it appears that way. The universe is never late, and what seems impossible is simply waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Every event, every opportunity, and every encounter is arranged in alignment with your inner state of belief and your readiness to receive. When you understand this principle, you begin to see that nothing is wasted, nothing is random, and nothing is out of your control when your consciousness is aligned with your desires. Many people experience frustration because they measure progress by visible results. When the outcome they long for has not yet appeared, they assume that something has gone wrong or that the universe is denying them. Yet the truth is that the unseen is always working, arranging circumstances and aligning energies to bring the desired outcome into manifestation at exactly the right moment. What seems delayed is often being perfected, refined, and prepared to match the fullness of your imagination and the depth of your belief. Divine timing ensures that what arrives is exactly what is needed, and exactly when it is most powerful and complete. The key to aligning with divine timing lies in your inner state. When your belief, imagination, and action are in harmony, you create a resonance that attracts the perfect circumstances. Your inner conviction sets the tempo for the outer unfolding. The universe responds to the state you occupy, not the fleeting desires of your fulfilled desire now. You allow the unseen forces to orchestrate the necessary events without interference. To enter pure seeing, you are not waiting passively, you are co-creating actively in perfect partnership with the divine intelligence that governs all things. Patience and trust are essential in recognizing divine timing. You may not see the mechanism at work, and there may be moments when the path appears obstructed. But every delay serves a purpose. It aligns the people, resources, and opportunities in precise order, so that when the moment comes, your manifestation appears complete and effortless. What may appear as an obstacle is often a stepping stone, a hidden advantage, or a necessary preparation that ensures your success will be lasting, not fleeting. Hence, the freedom codes are reading again. When you surrender to divine timing, you release the tension of trying to force outcomes and instead allow life to unfold with elegance and precision. You stop measuring your reality by appearances and start trusting the invisible order of creation. The impossible begins to appear possible, not because it changes suddenly, but because your alignment with it becomes complete. Every moment becomes a part of the divine plan, and what you have longed for begins to manifest in perfect harmony with your inner state. Understanding divine timing transforms impatience into faith, doubt into certainty, and waiting into a joyful expectancy. Nothing is delayed, and everything you desire is already in motion. When you align your belief with the flow of creation, the impossible unfolds as effortlessly as the sunrise, revealing that all things happen at exactly the right moment for your highest good. You are not a passive observer of life, merely reacting to circumstances as they unfold. You are the creative force behind every event, every encounter, and every outcome in your existence. The world outside is a mirror reflecting the state of your inner consciousness. By recognizing this truth, you step into a position of empowerment, where the impossible ceases to intimidate you and becomes something you can actively bring into reality. Your imagination is not a fantasy. It is the divine instrument through which all things are made. When you live in the end, experiencing the fulfillment of your desire in your mind and heart now, you set into motion the natural laws that transform your vision into physical form. To live in the end is to inhabit the reality of your desire as though it has already been fulfilled. It is to feel the joy, the peace, the satisfaction, and the completeness of your imagined state in the present moment. This is not wishful thinking, it is a deliberate alignment with the creative power within you. Your feelings are the language through which the unseen world communicates with the visible. When you feel the reality of your desire now, you send a signal to the subconscious mind, which is the silent partner in creation, instructing it to arrange all circumstances, people, and events to match the state you have assumed. In this way, your inner experience magnetizes the outer world, drawing to you the conditions that correspond to your imagined reality. The impossible begins to dissolve when you understand your role as a creator. Nothing is beyond your influence when your consciousness is fully engaged with the desired outcome. Every thought, every belief, and every emotion that aligns with the state of fulfillment strengthens the magnetic force within you. You are not waiting for life to hand you opportunities, you are actively generating them through your inner conviction. The universe responds to certainty, not doubt, and to feeling, not mere logic. By consciously embodying the end, you create a vibrational reality that pulls circumstances into harmony with your vision. Many people fail to recognize this creative power because they focus solely on the visible world. They measure their potential by current conditions and allow external appearances to limit their imagination. But true creation occurs first within. The inner world precedes the outer. Every reality you see was once imagined and felt by someone. When you take responsibility for your inner state and deliberately dwell in the end, you step into the role of co-creator with divine intelligence. Your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions become the architects of your life, constructing a world that reflects your internal reality. By embracing your role as the creative force, you transform challenges into opportunities and impossibilities into inevitabilities. You no longer wait for conditions to change. Instead, you change your inner state, knowing that the outer world must eventually reflect it. You become a magnet for the fulfillment of your desires, attracting exactly what you need when you need it. This is the power that turns dreams into reality, visions into tangible outcomes, and impossibilities into achievements. Recognizing yourself as the creative force is the key to living a life where nothing is beyond your reach, and every desire can be realized through the conscious use of imagination and feeling. Letting go of resistance is one of the most essential steps in allowing the impossible to become possible. Resistance takes many forms: doubts that creep into your mind, fears that paralyze your action, and past disappointments that weigh heavily on your heart. All of these act as invisible barriers between you and the fulfillment of your desire. They create a friction that slows the flow of life and prevents the natural manifestation of your dreams. When you release resistance, you remove these obstacles and create space for the creative forces of the universe to work on your behalf. Miracles begin to unfold when your inner state aligns fully with the reality you wish to experience. Resistance often arises from clinging to the past or from fixating on what is not yet visible. You may remember failures or setbacks, and your mind unconsciously forms a pattern of expectation based on them. This pattern produces fear, doubt, and hesitation, which in turn solidify the very conditions you wish to change. Letting go is not ignoring the past or pretending it did not happen. It is consciously choosing to release its hold over your present state. By forgiving, by accepting, and by focusing on the fulfilled state of your desire, you dismantle the energetic blocks that have been holding you back. Surrender is the companion of letting go. It is the recognition that while you are the creator of your reality, the universe operates in ways that may exceed your understanding. Surrender does not mean inaction or passivity. It means trusting that the perfect orchestration is already in motion. When you surrender, you stop struggling against life and begin to flow with it. You allow the divine intelligence within and around you to arrange circumstances, people, and events to bring your desire into form. Resistance, in its essence, is the act of trying to control the process rather than embracing the process itself. Letting go and surrendering restores the natural order, allowing miracles to occur effortlessly. The act of releasing resistance also requires attention to your inner dialogue. Negative thoughts, self-criticism, and persistent worry act as subtle forms of resistance. To truly let go, you must cultivate awareness of these patterns and consciously replace them with affirmations, visualizations, and feelings that reflect the reality you wish to create. By living as though your desire is already fulfilled and focusing on its joyful manifestation, you dissolve the inner tension that has blocked its arrival. Letting go of resistance transforms your relationship with life. It replaces struggle with ease, doubt with faith, and limitation with possibility. When resistance is gone, your energy aligns fully with your desire, and the universe responds in kind. Doors that were once closed open naturally, solutions appear where none were visible, and circumstances shift to accommodate the reality you are now embodying. Miracles are simply the natural consequence of an unblocked, surrendered consciousness. When you release doubts, fears, and past disappointments, you step into the flow of creation itself. You become receptive to blessings that you may have thought were impossible. The impossible ceases to exist in the presence of alignment, faith, and surrender. By letting go of resistance, you allow the full power of your imagination, your belief, and your divine partnership with life to bring forth the reality you have always desired. In conclusion, remember this truth: the impossible is never truly impossible. God is at work behind the scenes, orchestrating every detail of your life in perfect alignment with your desires. Your inner vision, your faith, your persistent assumption, your trust in divine timing, your recognition of yourself as the creative force, and your willingness to release resistance, all these are the keys that unlock miracles. Life responds to the state of your consciousness, and when you live as though your desires are already fulfilled, the universe cannot help but bring them into manifestation. Do not allow appearances to dictate your belief. Do not let doubt, fear, or past disappointments hold you back. The impossible is simply waiting for your alignment with it. Your breakthrough is nearer than you think. Hold steadfast, trust the process, and continue to imagine, feel, and live in the reality you desire. Miracles are not just for others, they are for you, now, in this very moment. Thank you for opening your heart and mind to this message. May you walk away today with renewed faith, unwavering conviction, and the courage to see the impossible become possible in your life. Your time is now, your miracle is on the way, and God is making it happen.
My dear friends, in this lecture, you'll discover the one secret that has the power to dissolve every problem you've ever faced. What if I revealed to you that you are not who you think you are, and that this misunderstanding is the root of all your suffering? Tonight I'm going to share with you the most profound truth I've ever discovered. A truth so powerful that once you grasp it, truly grasp it, worry becomes impossible. Fear dissolves like mist before the sun, and every challenge transforms into a doorway to your desires. But before I reveal this secret, let me ask you something that will shake you to your very core. Right now, as you listen to my voice, who do you believe yourself to be? Are you John, struggling with debt that keeps you awake at night? Are you Mary, anxious about whether your partner truly loves you? Are you someone carrying the crushing weight of past failures, drowning in future uncertainties, suffocated by present limitations? If you answered yes to any of these, then you are living in the grandest illusion ever conceived. You are not your name. You are not your circumstances. You are not your bank balance, your job title, your relationship status. You are not even your thoughts and emotions that seem to control your every waking moment. You are the infinite creative power of the universe, temporarily forgetting your true identity. And in this forgetting lies both your suffering and your salvation. When you worry, and I know you do worry, perhaps right now as you listen to these words, you are operating from what I call the finite sense of self. You're identifying with your physical body that ages and aches, your personal history filled with disappointments and regrets, your social circumstances that seem to define and confine you. You've forgotten the magnificent being that you truly are. But tonight, this changes. Tonight, you remember who you really are. Tonight, you discover the secret that has been hidden in plain sight your entire life. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, for these words will either liberate you completely or challenge everything you believe about reality. You are not a human being having a spiritual experience. You are God individualized, temporarily wearing the mask of humanity. You are the infinite creative consciousness, pretending to be limited so that you can experience the joy of remembering your unlimited nature. Here's something that will stop you in your tracks and force you to question everything. How can God worry? Think about it deeply. How can the infinite creative force that spoke galaxies into existence, that dreams up every sunset and orchestrates every heartbeat, be concerned about paying rent? How can the consciousness that imagined every star, every ocean, every flower into being, be anxious about what others think of you? It's impossible, isn't it? Completely, utterly impossible. And yet, that's exactly what you are. That same creative power, that same infinite consciousness. The only difference is that you've been hypnotized into believing you're separate from it. You've been mesmerized by the grand illusion that you are small, limited, powerless. But what if I told you that this hypnosis is about to be broken forever? The world you see around you, every problem that torments you, every challenge that seems insurmountable, every limitation that appears to bind you, is not the cause of your experience. It's the effect. It's the outward projection of your inner states of consciousness, like shadows cast by the light of your own mind. This means something so extraordinary that most people cannot accept it when they first hear it. Every circumstance in your life is a reflection of your inner world. That financial struggle that keeps you awake at 3 a.m, it's reflecting a state of lack consciousness that you've been unconsciously occupying. That difficult relationship that brings you pain, it's mirroring your deepest concepts of love, worth, and deserving. That health challenge that frightens you, it's expressing your beliefs about your body, your vitality, your right to be whole and strong. But here's where it gets exciting. And this is the part that will change everything for you. The part that will make you realize you've been living with godlike power all along, without knowing it. If your outer world is a reflection of your inner world, then by changing your inner world, you can transform everything. And I mean everything. Your relationships, your finances, your health, your entire experience of life itself. When you truly understand this, not just intellectually with your reasoning mind, but experientially with every fiber of your being, you'll never look at a problem the same way again. Instead of asking, how can I solve this? You'll ask, what state of consciousness am I occupying that's creating this experience? Instead of trying to change the outer world, you'll focus on changing your inner world, knowing that the outer must conform. This brings me to the most liberating statement you'll ever hear. Words that will set you free from every burden you've ever carried. God will solve it. Now, before you think I'm advocating some form of spiritual passivity, some kind of wishful thinking that expects miracles to fall from the sky, let me clarify what I mean. When I say God will solve it, I'm not referring to some external deity sitting on a cloud, some cosmic figure who may or may not decide to help you. I'm referring to the God within you, the infinite intelligence that is your very essence, the creative power that is your true nature. Stay with me because this next part will literally rewire how you think about problems forever. And I promise you, by the time I finish explaining this, you'll never feel powerless again. When you say God will solve it, you're not abdicating responsibility or washing your hands of your challenges. You're making the most powerful declaration possible. You're aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe. You're stepping out of the limited perspective of the problem and into the expanded consciousness of the solution. Think about this profound truth. A seed doesn't worry about becoming a mighty oak tree. It doesn't lie awake at night wondering if it has what it takes to grow into something magnificent. It contains within itself the complete pattern of its full expression. The entire oak tree, roots, trunk, branches, leaves, exists as pure potential within that tiny seed. Similarly, your consciousness contains within it the solution to every problem you could ever face. Every challenge that appears in your life already carries within it the seed of its own resolution. But you must learn to plant yourself in the fertile soil of faith rather than the barren ground of worry. Here's the practical application that will transform your life immediately. And I want you to try this even as you listen to these words. Instead of focusing on your problem, instead of rehearsing it in your mind, discussing it with others, analyzing it from every angle, focus on the feeling of it already being solved. How would you feel right now if your financial struggles were completely over? How would you move through the world if your relationship was perfectly harmonious? What would your mental state be if your health was vibrant and strong? This feeling, this state of consciousness, where your problem is already solved, is the key to allowing God to solve your problem. You see, when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you live from the end result rather than from the present problem, you are aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe. But wait, this gets even more remarkable, and what I'm about to tell you will completely shatter your concept of time and possibility. In the realm of pure consciousness, where all creation takes place, there is no time. Past, present, and future are illusions of the physical world. In consciousness, everything exists in the eternal now. This means your desire is fulfilled the moment you assume the feeling of its fulfillment with complete conviction. The time it takes to appear in your physical reality depends only on your faith and your persistence in this assumed state. So when I tell you that God will solve your problem, I'm not speaking of some future event. Your problem is already solved, right now, in this very moment. The only question is, are you willing to accept this truth? Think about what this means. Every solution you've ever sought, every answer you've ever needed, every miracle you've ever prayed for, they all exist right now in the realm of infinite possibility. Your job is not to create them. Your job is to select them by assuming the state of consciousness in which they are already yours. Here's something that will surprise you and challenge everything you've been taught about achievement and success. The harder you try to solve your problems, the more you're actually affirming their existence. This is what I call the law of reversed effort. When you struggle and strain to make something happen, when you push and force and manipulate circumstances, you're operating from the consciousness of lack, the very consciousness that created the problem in the first place. You're saying to the universe, I don't have this and I need to make it happen. But the universe only knows how to say yes to your state of consciousness. Instead of trying harder, try less. Instead of doing more, be more. Rest in the knowing that the infinite intelligence within you, the same intelligence that grows your hair without your conscious effort, that beats your heart while you sleep, that orchestrates the intricate dance of billions of cells in your body, is fully capable of solving whatever you're facing. This isn't about being passive or inactive. It's about being aligned. When you're truly aligned with the consciousness of the solution, inspired action flows naturally. You won't feel like you're struggling upstream against the current of life. Instead, you'll find yourself carried by a river of synchronicity toward your desired outcome. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, having the right ideas, receiving the right opportunities. This isn't coincidence. This is consciousness in action. This is God, which you are, orchestrating your reality with infinite intelligence and perfect timing. Let me share with you one of the most powerful techniques I know for allowing God to solve your problems. A practice that has transformed countless lives and will transform yours, if you use it faithfully. Revision. Each night before you sleep, as you're lying in bed preparing to enter the state of consciousness, where all creation begins, review the events of your day. But here's the crucial part. Don't review them as they appeared to your physical senses. Revise them to align with the state of your problems being solved. Had a challenging conversation with your boss? Revise it to have gone perfectly, with your boss expressing confidence in your abilities. Received discouraging news about your finances? Revise it to be encouraging news about new opportunities. Felt anxious about your relationship? Revise yourself as feeling completely loved and secure. This technique works because your memories are not fixed recordings stored somewhere in your brain like files on a computer. They're fluid, living things that are constantly being reconstructed each time you remember them. By consciously revising your memories, you're literally reshaping your past. And as you change your past in imagination, you change your future in reality. But the power of revision goes even deeper than this. When you revise your day to align with your problems being solved, you're not just changing your memories, you're changing your identity. You're becoming the person who naturally attracts solutions rather than problems. The person who moves through life with confidence and grace rather than fear and struggle. Now some of you might be thinking, but Neville, isn't this just fantasy? Isn't this self-deception? And to this I say, what you call reality is already a form of imagination. The difference is that most people are unconsciously imagining what they don't want, while I'm teaching you to consciously imagine what you do want. Every night, as you practice revision, you're planting seeds in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. These seeds must grow into your outer experience, because that's the law of consciousness. What you vividly imagine and feel to be true becomes true in your experience. When you assume the state of your problem being solved, truly assume it with feeling and conviction, a series of events is automatically set in motion to bring about the manifestation of your desire. I call this the bridge of incidents. You don't need to know how God will solve your problem. You don't need to figure out the steps, manipulate the circumstances, or force the outcome. Your job is simply to maintain your assumption and trust the bridge. Each event, each encounter, each seeming coincidence is part of this bridge leading you to the complete manifestation of your solved problem. Here's something that will amaze you and fill you with wonder at the intelligence of the universe. Once you truly embody the consciousness of your problem being solved, the entire universe begins to conspire in your favor. People you've never met will play their perfect parts in your unfolding solution. Circumstances will align in ways that seem miraculous but are actually the natural result of your changed consciousness. Opportunities will present themselves at precisely the right moment. Resources will appear from unexpected sources. Doors will open that you didn't even know existed. And all of this will happen not because you forced it, but because you aligned yourself with it through your consciousness. This is what I mean when I say that God will solve it. The infinite intelligence that created and maintains the universe is not separate from you. It is you. And this intelligence knows exactly how to bring about the solution to your problem in the most perfect, harmonious way possible. But here's something crucial that I must emphasize. This is not about sitting back and waiting for miracles to happen while you do nothing. When you're truly aligned with the consciousness of the solution, you'll be inspired to take what I call right action. This action won't feel like struggle or effort. It won't be driven by fear or desperation. Instead, it will feel natural, even inevitable. You'll find yourself making phone calls that lead to breakthrough conversations. You'll be inspired to visit places where you meet exactly the right person. You'll have ideas that seem to come from nowhere but lead to perfect solutions. The difference between right action and wrong action is the consciousness from which it springs. Wrong action comes from the consciousness of the problem. It's driven by fear, worry, and the need to force an outcome. Right action comes from the consciousness of the solution. It's inspired, effortless, and aligned with the natural flow of your good. Pay attention to your inner conversations, the thoughts you think and the words you speak to yourself throughout the day. These conversations are shaping your reality more powerfully than any action you could take in the outer world. Most people have no idea how much power their inner dialogue holds. They spend their days thinking and talking about their problems, rehearsing their fears, anticipating negative outcomes. and then they wonder why their lives are filled with the very things they don't want. If you're constantly thinking and talking about your problems, you're reinforcing their existence in your experience. You're giving them life through your attention, feeding them with your emotional energy, strengthening their hold on your reality. Instead, have inner conversations that align with your problems being solved. Speak to yourself as if the solution is already in place. Have imaginary conversations with others where you discuss the wonderful resolution of your situation. Thank people for their help in bringing about your good fortune, even if this conversation exists only in your imagination. These inner conversations are not just fantasies. They're powerful creative forces that are literally reshaping the substance of your reality. Remember, your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a physical one. When you have these conversations with feeling and conviction, your subconscious accepts them as real and begins to work to make them real in your outer experience. Let me tell you about a state of consciousness that is crucial to allowing God to solve your problems. What I call the Sabbath state. After you've done your imaginative work, after you've assumed the feeling of your problem being solved, after you've revised your day and had your inner conversations, enter into complete rest. The Sabbath state is a state of total release from all effort, a state of knowing that your work is done. In this state, you no longer feel the need to make the solution happen because you know it already is happening. You rest in the certainty of the outcome, allowing God to work through the natural unfolding of events. This rest is not the rest of exhaustion or defeat. It's the rest of completion, the peace that comes from knowing that everything is handled. It's like planting a seed and then leaving it alone to grow, trusting that the intelligence within the seed knows exactly what to do. Many people struggle with this state because they've been conditioned to believe that they must be constantly doing something to create change. But the truth is that the most important work happens in consciousness, and once that work is complete, the outer manifestation is inevitable. The Sabbath state is not about being lazy or inactive. It's about operating from the consciousness of completion rather than the consciousness of need. When you're truly in this state, any action you take flows from inspiration rather than desperation, from fullness rather than emptiness. The next one is perhaps the most important concept I can share with you, and I want you to really let this sink into your consciousness. Live from the end. Don't live hoping your problem will be solved someday in the future. Live as if it's already solved right now, in this very moment. When you truly do this, when you embody the consciousness of the solution rather than the problem, time collapses. The future you desire becomes your present reality. You're not waiting for change to happen. You're experiencing it now. Think about what it would mean to live from the end of your financial struggles. You wouldn't check your bank balance with anxiety. You'd check it with the quiet confidence of someone who always has enough. You wouldn't worry about bills. You'd pay them knowing that the money flows to you as easily as breath flows through your lungs. Think about what it would mean to live from the end of your relationship problems. You wouldn't wonder if you're loved. You'd know it with unshakable certainty. You wouldn't try to control or manipulate your partner. You'd rest in the security of perfect love. This is not pretense or self-deception. This is alignment with your true nature and your ultimate good. When you live from the end, you're not denying your current circumstances. You're choosing to identify with your desired reality rather than your present appearance. Cultivate gratitude, not just for what you can see and touch, but for the unseen solution that is even now unfolding in your life. Give thanks for the wisdom that guides you, the love that surrounds you, and the power that resides within you. This gratitude is not just a nice feeling. It's a powerful creative force that aligns you with the frequency of your desires fulfilled. When you're truly grateful for your problems being solved, even before you see evidence, you're opening a doorway for miracles to enter your experience. Gratitude puts you in a state of receptivity. It says to the universe, I am ready to receive my good. It acknowledges that your good is already on its way, already in motion, already seeking expression through you. Practice this kind of gratitude throughout your day. Thank God for the solution that is unfolding. Thank the people who will play their parts in your good fortune. Thank the circumstances that are aligning for your benefit. Do this especially when, you can't see any evidence in the outer world. Never forget this fundamental truth. You are not separate from God. You are an individualized expression of the infinite creative power. The same intelligence that set the stars in their courses flows through your consciousness. The same love that holds galaxies together beats in your heart. The same creative force that imagined the universe into existence lives and moves and has its being as you. When you remember this truth, really remember it, not just as a nice idea, but as a living reality, every problem becomes an opportunity to witness the divine power in action. Every challenge becomes a chance to exercise your godlike nature. Every obstacle becomes a stepping stone to greater expression of your infinite potential. Here's the ultimate secret, the one truth that changes everything. You don't need to become someone new to solve your problems. You need to remember who you've always been. You need to stop pretending to be limited and start expressing your unlimited nature. You are not your circumstances. You are not your challenges. You are not your past failures or future fears. You are the awareness in which all these experiences appear and disappear like clouds in the vastness of the sky. Trusting that God will solve your problem is not a one-time event. It's a continuous choice, a moment-by-moment decision to align with your true nature rather than your temporary appearance. You must persist in this state of faith even when the outer world shows no sign of change, even when others doubt you, even when your own mind tries to convince you it's not working. This persistence is what separates those who successfully transform their lives from those who give up too soon. Think of it like moving to a new home. You don't wake up each morning wondering where you are, looking around confused and uncertain. You naturally assume your new surroundings because you know where you live. This is how you must be with your faith, that God will solve your problem. It should become your new normal, your new home state. Even when the old familiar thoughts of worry try to move back in, you gently but firmly remind them that they no longer live here. But what if you falter? What if you find yourself slipping back into worry and doubt? Do not despair. Do not judge yourself harshly. Simply acknowledge what has happened and return to your state of faith and surrender. Remember, you are breaking lifelong habits of thought and feeling. It takes practice, patience, and persistence. As you practice these principles, as you truly embody the consciousness that God will solve it, you'll notice something remarkable happening. Your entire perception of life shifts. What once seemed like insurmountable obstacles now appear as stepping stones to greater expression. What once felt like punishment now feels like preparation. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of circumstances, but as the creator of experiences. Not as someone hoping for change, but as someone allowing transformation. Not as someone begging God for help, but as someone remembering that you are the very God you've been praying to. And here's the most beautiful part of this entire journey, the revelation that brings tears of joy to those who truly understand it. When you fully awaken to your true nature, when you completely embody the consciousness that God will solve it, you realize something profound and liberating. There never was a problem to begin with. There was only God, which you are, pretending to have problems so that God could experience the infinite joy of remembering its unlimited power to solve them. Every challenge you faced has been a game of cosmic hide and seek, with the infinite playing at being finite, the unlimited pretending to be limited, the eternal acting as if it were temporary. And now the game is ending. Now you're remembering who you really are. So I ask you now, as we near the end of our time together, are you ready to stop living as a limited human being and start expressing as the infinite creative power you truly are? Are you willing to release your attachment to problems and embrace your identity as the solution to everything you've ever sought? The choice is yours. It has always been yours. The power is within you. It has always been within you. The time is now. It has always been now. Remember this as you go forward. You are not your circumstances. You are not your challenges. You are not even your thoughts and emotions. You are the awareness in which all these experiences arise and pass away. You are the infinite creative power of the universe, temporarily wearing the mask of humanity, playing the game of limitation, so you can experience the ecstasy of remembering your unlimited nature. Tonight, as you go to sleep, carry this truth with you like a precious treasure. God will solve it. Not because you hope so, not because you wish it to be true, but because you are God individualized. And it is impossible, utterly impossible, for you to have a problem that you cannot solve. Rest in this knowing. Live from this truth. Breathe this reality into every cell of your being. And watch with wonder and gratitude as your entire world transforms to match the magnificent being you've always been, but temporarily forgot. The secret that changes everything is this. You are everything. You are the problem, you are the solution, and you are the creative power that bridges them both. You are the dreamer and the dream, the seeker and the sought, the question and the answer. Welcome home to your true self. Welcome home to your divine nature. Welcome home to a life where God solves everything, because God is who you are, who you've always been, and who you'll always be.
There comes a time in your life when God no longer whispers, increase. He demonstrates it, not by logic, not by predictable means, but through a divine shock that redefines what you thought was possible. You've looked at your bank account and believed the numbers told you the truth. But what if I told you those numbers are not your reality? They are simply the echo of your old thoughts, the shadow of what you once believed. The true balance of your life is held in the unseen, in your imagination, your conviction, your faith. The outer world cannot help but bow to the inner. When you begin to see yourself as provided for, favored, and overflowing, not as a wish, but as a fact, something begins to stir in the unseen realm. Doors you never knocked on begin to open. People you've never met begin to speak your name in rooms you've never entered. That's the language of divine economy. God does not operate through limitation. He operates through belief. When you feel abundance as though it's already yours, you invite heaven to prove you right. You see, wealth is not earned first, it's imagined first. Your hands receive what your heart already holds. And when you finally let go of fear, when you no longer measure your worth by digits on a screen, that's when God moves. Suddenly, the job comes. Suddenly, the debt is cleared. Suddenly, the account that once read empty now overflows. That's not luck. That's divine order, responding to your awakened faith. So I tell you now, stop saying, I'm waiting for my breakthrough. Start saying, my breakthrough has already been deposited in the unseen. Feel it, know it, live as though it's already done. Because in the eyes of the infinite, it is done. And when it manifests, when the unexpected payment, the favor, the opportunity comes, you'll stand there, tears in your eyes, saying, God just shocked my bank account. Not because he suddenly became generous, but because you finally became aware of the abundance that was always yours. So hold your faith, speak your prosperity, imagine your increase, for truly God is about to shock your bank account. And when he does, the world will know that belief is the greatest currency of all. Your bank account is not the source, it's only the reflection of your inner state of belief and consciousness. Most people live as though the numbers on their screen are the master and they are the servant. They wake up and check their balance first thing in the morning, and if it's low, their mood drops. If it's high, they feel a momentary lift. But that's not how divine order works. The outer world does not dictate your inner state. It is your inner state that projects itself into form and becomes your outer experience. The bank account is simply a mirror, a piece of glass, showing you what you have been inwardly assuming, believing, and expecting about your financial life. Money is energy, and energy follows consciousness. The moment you identify lack within yourself, you begin to attract conditions that confirm that lack. Not because God withholds, but because your belief filters what you allow yourself to receive. You can pray all you want, but if deep inside you believe that you are struggling, unworthy, or just barely getting by, then that belief will continue to print itself into the world of matter. It is not that the world is against you, it's that you have unknowingly agreed to the story of limitation. The invisible source, the divine mind, the creative power within, responds only to the truth you hold as real. It has no sense of humor, no bias, no favorites. It simply echoes the vibration of your awareness. When you say, "I never have enough," you instruct creation to reflect that statement. When you say, "I am always supported," "I am always provided for," you call forth experiences that match that conviction. The universe does not know the difference between imagination and fact. It simply shapes reality around the feeling that dominates your consciousness. So if your current balance doesn't reflect the abundance you desire, don't fight the number. Change your inner picture. Close your eyes and see the account as full, overflowing, abundant. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the security that comes from knowing you have more than enough. Don't do this as a fantasy, but as an act of faith, a declaration that you are aligned with the infinite source of supply. You are not trying to convince the universe to give you more. You are reminding yourself that you are already connected to the source that can never run dry. Everything visible came from the invisible. Every coin, every note, every transfer began as a thought, a belief, an assumption held by someone who dared to believe in increase. The invisible is more real than what your senses show you. When you stop worshiping the number and start honoring the source, you shift from fear to faith, from scarcity to sufficiency. Then and only then will your reflection begin to change. Your task is not to chase money, but to awaken the state of consciousness that produces it. Money is the shadow of your belief, not the cause of your peace. When you understand this, you stop reacting to the mirror and start reshaping the image within. Then your bank account becomes what it was always meant to be, a reflection of divine abundance made visible through you. What you assume to be true within must mirror itself in your world. Your financial reality is not determined by luck, effort alone, or the state of the economy. It is a direct projection of your inner conviction about money, worth, and provision. Every assumption you hold, whether conscious or unconscious, shapes the circumstances that appear around you. Life does not respond to your wishes. It responds to what you believe to be already true. Assumption is not idle thinking. It is the quiet agreement you make with yourself about how life works for you. When you assume that money is hard to earn, that abundance is for others, or that opportunities always bypass you, you are writing the script that your outer world must faithfully perform. Every experience of lack, every delay, every financial setback is the shadow cast by an inner conviction. You might not speak it aloud, but your dominant assumption whispers it constantly to the universe, and the universe always obeys. On the other hand, When you assume abundance as your natural state, life has no choice but to align with that belief. The law of assumption operates with mathematical precision. It doesn't care about appearances. It only reflects the inner feeling you persist in. If you wake up every morning feeling prosperous, thankful, and secure, even if your outer circumstances don't yet agree, you are shifting the invisible patterns that control your visible world. And in due time, that inner wealth must externalize. Most people live by observation, not by assumption. They see an empty wallet and say, I am broke, not realizing they are reinforcing the very condition they wish to escape. They wait for change before they believe, but the law works in reverse. You believe first, and then you see. Belief is the seed, manifestation is the harvest. You cannot plant lack and expect prosperity to bloom. You must assume the state of already having, already being, already possessing the good you desire. This does not mean pretending or forcing optimism. It means entering the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to feel so real within yourself that your senses begin to obey your inner conviction. When you assume wealth, you walk differently, think differently, and speak differently. You make decisions from abundance, not from fear. You bless others freely because you know that giving never diminishes what comes from an infinite source. Eventually, your outer world begins to conform. Unexpected income appears, new channels open, opportunities seem to find you. But these are not coincidences. They are the natural fruits of an inner state you have faithfully occupied. You assumed abundance, and so abundance found you. The law of assumption is not a superstition or a trick. It is the fundamental truth of creation. The world is your mirror, reflecting your most persistent belief. When you change the assumption within, you change the reflection without. To transform your finances, you must transform your inner conviction from I need to I have, from I hope to I know. The moment you live from that knowing, the world cannot help but mirror your faith back to you in tangible form. The moment you see yourself as prosperous, life begins to rearrange itself to match that vision. Everything in creation begins with imagination, the divine faculty through which unseen ideas become visible form. Wealth does not start in your bank, it starts in your mind. Before a single coin moves, before a new opportunity appears, something shifts within your imagination. You begin to see yourself differently, to think from a higher place, and to embody the feeling of already possessing abundance. That inner vision becomes the blueprint life follows to construct your outer reality. Imagination is not child's play. It is the creative power of God operating through you. It is the invisible workshop where every visible success is born. The mistake most people make is waiting to see before they believe. But spiritual law works in reverse. You must believe first, and then you will see. When you dare to imagine yourself prosperous, you are not escaping reality, you are rewriting it. You are giving your subconscious mind a new picture to build from. Every image you hold with conviction impresses itself upon the unseen substance of life. If your inner vision is filled with debt, worry, and struggle, you magnetize experiences that match that picture. But when you deliberately choose to see yourself as abundant, surrounded by ease, opportunity, and provision, that image begins to draw its likeness into form. The phone call, the promotion, the idea, the open door, they are all the outpicturing of your inner imagination. To imagine prosperity is to align yourself with the truth that there is no shortage in divine supply. The universe is infinitely rich. It is only your self-image, that limits what you can receive. When you close your eyes and see yourself living in comfort, contributing freely, and walking in confidence, you awaken the vibration of wealth within you. The feeling becomes your new normal. You no longer chase money, you attract it by embodying its frequency. You must imagine vividly and consistently, not from desperation, but from joy. Feel the satisfaction of knowing you are already provided for. See the numbers increasing, the opportunities expanding, the peace that comes with financial freedom. Let your imagination be so alive that your senses begin to agree with it. As you hold that picture, life begins to rearrange itself in mysterious ways. People show up at the right time, ideas spark effortlessly, and resources flow through unexpected channels. This is not coincidence. It is divine orchestration, responding to your mental image. The imagination is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. What you consistently imagine with faith becomes inevitable. The outer world is clay in the hands of your inner vision. So, see yourself as prosperous. Speak from that place, think from that place, act from that place. Let the image of abundance be so real within that the world has no choice but to manifest it without. For divine imagination is not just daydreaming, it is the sacred power through which heaven prints its riches upon the earth through you. Feeling rich before seeing riches opens the door for abundance to rush in. Gratitude is one of the most magnetic forces in the universe, a silent current that draws more of whatever you appreciate into your life. It is not a polite thank you after something good happens. It is the spiritual recognition that the good is already here, even if it has not yet appeared to your senses. Gratitude is faith made visible in feeling. It says, I know I am blessed, long before the evidence shows up. Most people wait for things to change before they feel thankful. They wait for the money to arrive, the debt to clear, or the opportunity to appear. But that is living in reaction, not creation. The law of life responds to vibration, and nothing vibrates higher than genuine gratitude. When you feel grateful before you have the physical result, you are declaring to the universe that you already possess the thing you desire in essence. That feeling of abundance begins to shift your energy, your thoughts, your expectations, and the outer world must mirror that state. Gratitude turns scarcity into sufficiency. When you begin to thank life for what you have, no matter how little it seems, you expand your awareness of how much is already flowing to you. You stop focusing on what's missing and start noticing what's present. This mental shift opens channels that were once blocked by complaint and worry. Life cannot pour more into a heart that resists, but it gladly multiplies what is joyfully received. Think of gratitude as a magnet. The more you feel it, the stronger the pull of abundance becomes. It doesn't matter how your circumstances look. When you give thanks as if you already have more than enough, you start to attract experiences that confirm your thankfulness. The promotion, the financial surprise, the new idea, these are simply reflections of your inner wealth. You have tuned yourself to the frequency of having, not lacking. Gratitude also transforms your relationship with money. Instead of seeing it as something to chase or control, you begin to see it as energy that flows naturally to appreciation. You honor what you have, and it multiplies. You give freely, not out of fear of loss, but out of the joy of participation in divine circulation. Money becomes your servant, not your master. Each morning, before checking your phone or your balance, pause and feel gratitude. Thank life for your breath, your mind, your strength, and your unseen blessings already on their way. Feel the richness of being alive, the luxury of faith, the opulence of peace. As you dwell in that state, the world begins to rearrange itself to match it. Unexpected provision appears, opportunities align, and your outer wealth begins to reflect the gratitude that has filled your inner world. To feel rich before seeing riches is to walk by faith, not by sight. Gratitude is not a reaction, it is creation. And when you live in that frequency, abundance doesn't trickle in, it rushes in, eager to meet the one who has already given thanks for it. Do not check your balance to decide what's possible. Your inner vision decides your outer increase. Faith was never meant to depend on evidence. It is the evidence of things not seen. The world teaches you to measure possibility by numbers, the digits in your account, the figures on a paycheck, the statistics of your circumstances. But faith speaks a different language. Faith looks beyond numbers, beyond appearances, beyond what can be counted, and sees only what is divinely assured. When you allow numbers to dictate your belief, you have given power to the shadow instead of the source. Your bank balance is a reflection of your past thinking, not your current potential. It shows where your faith has been, not where it is going. Yet many stare at it as though it were an eternal decree. They say, I can't afford this, or that will never happen for me, and in doing so they shut the door that faith was ready to open. Numbers can only describe, they cannot define. They are temporary expressions that shift as your consciousness shifts. Faith begins where sight ends. When you look at lack and still say, I am abundant, you are planting the seed of a new reality. When you see an empty account and feel gratitude for divine supply, you are exercising the highest form of spiritual power. The unseen responds to conviction, not calculation. The universe moves for those who believe before the evidence appears. Numbers have limits, but faith has none. Faith multiplies what logic cannot. It opens doors that reason calls impossible. Every great transformation in life begins with someone who refused to be limited by what their senses reported. The truth is, what you hold in your inner vision has more authority than any figure on a screen. The moment you see yourself as prosperous, favored, and provided for, life begins to reorganize itself to confirm that vision. Faith is not blind, it sees deeper. It knows that the unseen is the parent of the seen. When you hold a strong inner image of abundance, you activate unseen forces that start working on your behalf. People are moved, opportunities align, resources appear. You may not know how it will happen, but faith never asks how. It only knows that it will. So stop checking the balance to measure your future. Check your belief instead. What are you seeing within? Are you rehearsing lack or imagining overflow? Your account follows your awareness. When you keep your eyes on the invisible supply rather than the visible limitation, you draw from a higher law, the law of faith, which always produces increase. Faith is the currency of the unseen. The more you spend it, the richer your life becomes. Refuse to let numbers determine your joy or your vision. Fix your heart on the abundance that is already yours in spirit, and watch as the outer figures rise to meet your inner conviction. When your faith becomes feeling, God surprises you through unexpected channels. The shock is not random, it's divine orchestration. There comes a sacred moment in every believer's life when what they have been imagining, declaring, and feeling within suddenly bursts into physical form. It seems to happen overnight, as if heaven itself conspired in secret to astonish you. But the truth is, nothing sudden ever really is. The outer shock is simply the unveiling of what your faith has already created in the invisible. Faith is not mere belief. It is the living, breathing awareness of things already accomplished in spirit. When that faith matures into feeling, when you no longer hope for what you desire but feel it as already yours, you set divine law in motion. The world must conform. The people, the timing, the opportunities, all of it begins to rearrange itself to fulfill the pattern you've impressed upon the unseen, and when it manifests, you stand amazed, calling it a miracle, though it is simply divine order in action. God delights in surprising his children, not because he hides blessings, but because he loves to reveal them in ways that stretch our trust. The shock you feel is the collision of two realities: the invisible truth you carried within, and the visible form that finally appears without. It is heaven meeting earth, spirit becoming substance. The divine never needs your logic, it needs your alignment. You may think your blessing will come through one avenue, a job, a person, a plan, but God often chooses another. That's why it feels so unexpected. The human mind calculates, but divine intelligence orchestrates. It connects threads you didn't even know existed. What seemed delayed or denied suddenly appears with perfect timing, reminding you that faith never fails. It only fulfills in ways beyond comprehension. When your faith becomes feeling, you no longer strain or chase. You rest in the assurance that it is already done. You speak differently, walk differently, and expect good without anxiety. And because you have released resistance, the channel clears for divine flow. Then out of nowhere, the email arrives, the door opens, the money transfers, the opportunity appears. You call it shocking, but heaven calls it scheduled. The shock of manifestation is God's way of showing you that he was working all along, even when you saw nothing. It's a reminder that the unseen realm is more real than the visible, and that once your inner conviction matches your desired outcome, the outer must bow. So never doubt the delays, never question the silence. Every quiet moment is divine construction time. Keep your faith alive, not as wishful thinking, but as felt reality. When it finally manifests, you will realize the surprise was not random. It was the echo of your own belief returning to you, magnified by grace. God's surprises are simply his promises, revealed at the perfect time. Everything you desire, every breakthrough, every increase, every financial miracle begins within you. Your outer world is simply the mirror reflecting your inner conviction. When you stop worshiping the numbers and start trusting the source, life begins to obey your faith. When you imagine prosperity, feel gratitude before the riches arrive, and believe beyond what your senses report, the universe has no choice but to respond. The invisible becomes visible. The impossible becomes inevitable. God is not limited by economy, timing, or logic. He is moved by belief. And when your faith becomes feeling, the shock of manifestation arrives. It comes suddenly, beautifully, perfectly. Your bank account begins to tell a new story, one of abundance, favor, and divine orchestration. So keep your inner world rich, guard your thoughts, Speak increase, not lack. See yourself as already supplied, already favored, already blessed, because you are. The moment you live from that truth, heaven rearranges everything to match it. Your faith is the greatest investment you will ever make. And soon you will look at your life and say with awe and gratitude, God truly shocked my bank account. Thank you for watching, for believing, and for walking this journey of faith and manifestation. Stay inspired, stay faithful, and remember, abundance begins within.